Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss the topic concept of lesson plan. Concept of lesson plan. A proper planning of lesson is to key effective teaching. The teacher must know in advance the subject matter and the mode of its delivery in the classroom. This gives the teacher an idea of how to develop the key concept and how to correlate them to real life situations and how to conclude lesson. Lesson plan is also an essential because effective learning takes place only if the subject matter is presented in an integrated and correlated manner and is related to the people's environment. The lesson plan requires hard work, it is rewarding too. It conceives a lesson plan of action implemented by the teacher in the classroom. So, a proper planning of lesson is to key to effective teaching. The teacher must know in advance the subject matter and the mode of its delivery in classroom. The next one, we are discussing meaning of lesson plan. Next we are discussing meaning of lesson plan. A lesson plan outlines in detail the various steps which the teacher proposes to undertake in his class. As such, a lesson plan concerns itself with the teaching of one period. Planning for a lesson means identification of the sequence and style of presentation and evaluation procedure to be adapted for classroom teaching of a lesson. Lesson plan is a means of taking advanced decisions about the selection, sequencing, execution of various activities to be performed in a classroom with a view to ensuring learning of children. A lesson plan is the teacher guide for running the particular lesson. It includes the goal and how the goal will be reached and the way of measuring how well the goal was reached. So this is the meaning of lesson plan. So a lesson plan outlines details various steps which the teacher proposes to undertake in his class. As such, the lesson plan concerns itself with the teaching of one period. Planning for the lesson means the identification of the sequence and the style of presentation and evaluation procedure to be adapted for classroom teaching of a lesson. The next one, definition of lesson plan. Many definitions related the lesson plan. The first definition is the Dictionary of Education says that the lesson plan is defines as a teaching outline of the important points of a lesson arranged in the order in which they are to be presented. It may conclude objectives, questions to be asked, reference to materials, evaluation, assignments, etc. Then N.L. Bosing says that lesson plan is the title given to a statement of all achievements to be realized and the specific means by which these are to be attained as a result of activities engaged day to day under the guidance of the teacher. So the definition of lesson plan, the first one is the lesson plan as a teaching outline of the important points of a lesson arranged in the order in which they are to be presented. It may include objectives, questions to be asked, reference to material, evaluation, assignments, etc. So lesson plan, N.L. Bosing says that the lesson plan is the title given to a statement of all achievements to be realized and specific means by which these are to be attained as a result of the activities engaged day to day under the guidance of the teacher. The next one, need of the lesson plan. Need for planning teaching occupies the central core of your life as a teacher. The teaching include instruction in classroom tutorials, laboratory, workshop and excursions. Teaching is a process involving teacher, students and set of activities designed primarily to bring desirable changes in the behavior of the students. It is a very important question whether you should plan for your teaching or you can do without it. By planning, a teacher is able to emphasize the different aspect of the subject. It's just possible that one aspect may be emphasized and some other aspect may be just touched upon and another one may be completely ignored. You should plan your teaching work because you can present material in a logical, systematic and effective way. You can obtain adequate coverage of the subject matter. You can achieve the instructional objectives in the stipulated time. You can achieve economy of time and effort. It helps maximum development of children with minimum resources. So, need of the lesson plan. The need for the planning, teaching occupies the central core of your life as a teacher. The teaching includes instruction in classroom, tutorials, laboratory, workshop and excursions. Teaching is a process involving teacher, student and a set of activities designed primarily to bring desirable changes in the behavior of students. It is a very important question whether you should plan for your teaching or you can do without it. The obvious answer to this that planning is important. By planning, a teacher is able to emphasize the different aspects of the subject. Otherwise, it is just possible that one aspect may be overemphasized and some other aspect may be just touched upon, another one may be completely ignored. You should plan your teaching work because you can present material in logical, systematic and effective way. You can obtain adequate coverage of the subject matter. You can achieve the instructional objectives in a stipulated time. You can achieve economy of time and effort. Also, the lesson plan helps the minimum development of children at the maximum development of children with minimum resources. In this need of lesson plan, some of the points are given. The first one is thorough lesson planning. The subject is organized properly. Thorough lesson plan. The subject is organized properly. The next one, it keeps the teacher free from faults of thoughtless teaching. It keeps the teacher free from the fault of thoughtless teaching. It makes the proper atmosphere for learning process. It makes the proper atmosphere for learning process. The teacher also gets a clear idea about when they should start evaluation and when they should proceed to next class. The teacher also get a clear idea about when they should start evaluation and when they should proceed to the next lesson. Lesson plan helps in organized teaching and saves time. Lesson plan helps in organized teaching and saves time. Lesson plan allows the teacher to apply the appropriate strategy. Lesson plan allows the teacher to apply appropriate strategy. Teacher will be more prepared and confident while teaching the lesson. So these are the need of lesson plan. So these are the steps are involved in the need of lesson plan. The next one, characteristics of good lesson plan. Characteristics of good lesson plan. Lesson plan is just like any other skill. It takes time and practice. At first, lesson planning may seem like time-consuming process, but by creating detailed lesson plan as a beginner teacher, it develops routines that become more automatic over time. The first character is lesson planning should be a written form. Lesson plan should be in a written form. In lesson planning, the general and important objectives should be clearly defined. In lesson planning, the general and important objectives should be clearly defined. The lesson plan should relate to suitable teaching method and its use. The lesson plan should relate to suitable teaching method and its use. The next one, a continuity component reviews and reflects on content from the previous lesson. A continuity component reviews and reflects or continues from the previous lesson. Subject, time, class, average age of the student should be mentioned in the lesson plan. Subject, time, class, average age of the student should be mentioned in the lesson plan. Important examples should be included in the lesson planning. Important examples should be included in the lesson planning. Inspirational or motivation methods should be experimented in lesson planning. Inspirational and motivational methods should be experimented in lesson planning. In lesson planning, the time for each topic should appropriately be predetermined. In lesson planning, the time for each topic should appropriately predetermined. In lesson planning, the techniques and supportive materials of education like charts, maps, and other audio-visual materials and its utilization should be written. In lesson planning, the techniques and supporting materials of education like charts, maps, and other audio-visual materials and its utilization should be written. When you start teaching, it is 90% planning and 10% management. For an experienced teacher, 10% planning and 90% management. If you have developed a set of effective management skills and teaching routines, having experienced how to be resourceful with very little, and above all, having learned to trust your learners, you are ready to fly on your own. So these are the characteristics of good lesson plan. The next one, importance of lesson plan. Every teacher is required to prepare a lesson plan because this is considered as a guide for day lessons. Every teacher is required to prepare a lesson plan because this is considered as a guide for the day lessons. Lesson planning is important because it gives the teacher a concrete direction of what he or she wants to take up for the day. Research has shown that student learning is correlated to teacher planning. One major explanation that when a plan is ready, teachers can focus on its implementation. When teachers do not have to think so much about what they need to do next day, they are able to focus on the other parts of the lesson. Lesson planning is important because it helps teachers ensure day-to-day activities and go on their classroom or providing students adequate level of long-term process towards the goal outlined in their scope and sequence, as well as their individual education plans when necessary. An effective lesson plan includes several elements: learning objectives, quality questions, supplies and activities. It is important to have the learning objectives in mind because those should drive the management and implementation of all activities in the classroom. Quality questions are inquiries that teacher plans to direct at the student over the course of the lesson. Sometimes these questions are rigorous in nature, but more often they are designed to help the student think at a higher level than simple memorization and comprehension. It is important to come up with a plan for assessment to determine whether the class have met its targets. Lesson planning is a complex, it's the essential part of the teaching process that changes over time as teachers gain more hands-on experience. The next one, approaches of lesson plans and steps. Different approaches for developing lesson plan. The first one is Herbartian approach. Second one is Morrison approach. Third one, evaluation or Bloom's approach, and RCEM approach. The first one is Herbartian approaches of teaching. While Herbert emphasized only 4 steps for this approaches of teaching, in this 4 steps can be modified 6 steps of teaching. The first one is preparation or introduction. Then the second one is statement of aim. And the third one is presentation. Fourth one, comparison and association. And the fifth one, generalization. And sixth one, application. The first one is preparation. Some questions are asked from the pupils in order to test their previous knowledge so that curiosity may arise in them for learning of new knowledge. By testing their previous experiences, pupils are prepared to acquire new knowledge. Some questions are asked from the pupils in order to test their previous knowledge so that curiosity may arise in them for learning of new knowledge. By testing their previous experiences, pupils are prepared for acquiring new knowledge. Then second one, statement of aim. The topic becomes clear to the pupils and the teacher himself is supposed to write the topic or blackboard in the clear words. The topic becomes clear to the pupils and the teacher himself is supposed to write the topic or blackboard in clear words. Third one, presentation. The lesson is developed with the cooperation of the pupils. Opportunities are provided to pupils to learn themselves by stimulating their mental activity. The teacher tries to receive most of the point from the pupils by questioning so that new knowledge may get related to previous knowledge. The teacher tries to receive most of the point from the pupils by questioning so that the new knowledge may get related to the previous knowledge. Comparison and association. In this, the facts, events, and application taught are related mutually by comparison to enable the pupils to understand the taught material. The teacher establishes a relationship between two subjects and also between the facts and events of one subject and the facts events of other subject. They compares them so that new knowledge may stabilized and clarified in the minds of the pupils. The next one, generalization. Herbert termed this system. After explaining the main lesson, the people are provided with opportunities to think. They formulated such principles and rules which may be used in various situations of the future life. Then application. In application, it is observed whether the acquired knowledge may be applied to new situations. The teacher verifies this by asking recapitulate questions or by providing opportunities to apply the acquired knowledge in new situations. This stabilizes the new knowledge and validity of the rules may also be proved. These are the 6 steps of Herbartian approaches of teaching. The next one, Herbartian lesson plan model. The first one is general objectives. The second one is specific objective. Third one, introduction. Fourth one, teaching aids. Fifth one, previous knowledge. Sixth one, statement of aim. The first one is general objectives. The objectives are formulated by the teacher in his subject, keeping in view the entering behaviors of the learner. These objectives are formulated by the teacher in his subject, keeping in view the entering behavior of the learners. For example, to develop the knowledge of grammar among the students. Second one, specific objectives. These objectives are formulated on the basis of general objectives and considering the nature of the topic and level of students. These objectives are formulated on the basis of general objectives and considering the nature of the topic and level of students. These are specified in terms of knowledge, skill, or appreciation. These objectives are written in behavioral terms. The first one is students will be able to recall the definition of noun. The second one is students will be able to enumerate the examples of noun. Then third one, introduction. Here the teacher employs his insight and experiences for liking new knowledge with the previous knowledge of the students. The topic is not introduced directly, but it is usually emitted by the students' response by asking introductory questions. Then fourth one, teaching aids. Audio-visual aids are selected according to the proposed topic. The next one, previous knowledge. Students' previous knowledge is mentioned. For example, students are familiar with the figure of speech. They know the nouns or naming words. So, students' are previous knowledge is mentioned. So, for example, students are familiar with the figure of speech. They know the nouns or naming words. Then sixth one, statement of aim. The teacher gives his statement of teaching topic by incorporating the student response. For example, today we will study about the name and its kinds. The next one, presentation. The teacher prepares the developing questions after introducing the topic. The questions are arranged in logical sequence from simple to complex considering the structure of the topic. The teacher prepares the developing questions after introducing the topic. The questions are arranged in logical sequence from simple to complex considering the structure of the topic. The next one, explanation. The teacher is supposed to explain the answer of the given developing questions as a whole of the content matter is in the question answer form. The teacher is supposed to explain the answer of the given developing question as whole of the content matter is in the question answer form. Then blackboard summary. The teacher has to prepare blackboard summary of his teaching point and explanation. The teacher has to prepare blackboard summary of his teaching point and explanation. Then review questions. The purpose of these questions is to practice the students' learning and to evaluate their performance, whether they have comprehended the teaching unit or not. These review questions are asked only after rubbing the blackboard summary. After rubbing the blackboard summary. The next one, home assignments. At the end of the lesson plan, home assignment is given to the students on the same teaching unit. The purpose of homework is to practice, to organize and study the topic for better understanding the retention. So these are the Herbartian lesson plan model. The 11 steps. The first one is general objectives, specific objectives, introduction, teaching, previous knowledge, statement of the aim, presentation, explanation, blackboard summary, review questions and home assignment. So general objectives, specific objectives, introduction, teaching aids, previous knowledge, statement of aim, presentation, explanation, blackboard summary, review questions, home assignments. The next one, advantages of Herbartian lesson plan. The first one is organized teaching. Then second one, acquiring thought as appreciation. Third one, use of inductive and deductive methods. Fourth one, recapitulation. Fifth one, correlation possible. The first one is organized teaching. Each step has been organized in a logical order which provides an opportunity to the fresh teacher to become aware of future mistakes. Originality is never affected and teaching goes on in a very organized way. Each step has been organized in a logical order which provides an opportunity to the fresh teacher to become aware of future mistakes. Originality is never affected and the teaching goes on in a very organized way. Second one, acquiring thoughts as appreciation. Herbert believed that when a new thought related to the thoughts lying in unconscious mind of the peoples are presented, the thoughts of unconscious mind come to conscious mind, establish relationship with the new thought and again to the unconscious mind. Herbert termed this material process of acquiring thoughts as appreciation. Third one, use of inductive and deductive methods. While presenting the new knowledge, help of various examples is shot through the generalization and rules are derived. It is an inductive method. In this step application, the rules are to be executed. This is a deductive method. Thus, both indicative and deductive methods are used in this 5 steps approach. The next one, recapitulation. Such questions is asked while recapitulating while answering, resulting in the learning and the application of the acquired knowledge in new situation. Such questions is asked while recapitulating which are answering, resulting in the learning and application of acquired knowledge in the new situation. Correlation possible. Herbert considered entire knowledge as a single unit. The knowledge of the people is acquired in a single unit. This allows to establishing a correlation between previous and new knowledge and between all subjects of the curriculum. Herbert considered entire knowledge as a single unit. The knowledge of the people is acquired in a single unit. This allows to establishing a correlation between previous and new knowledge and between all subjects of the curriculum. So these are the advantages of Herbartian lesson plan. These are the advantages of Herbartian lesson plan. The first one is organized teaching. Second one, acquiring thought as appreciation. Third one, use of inductive and deductive methods. Fourth one, recapitulation. Fifth one, correlation possible. Then disadvantages of Herbartian lesson plan. The first one is mechanical method of teaching. The second one, no place for individual differences. No place for individual differences. Third one, useful in knowledge lesson only. Useful in knowledge lesson only. Fourth one, teacher more active. Teacher more active. Fifth one, no need of generalization. Sixth one, uninteresting. Seventh one, difficulty of correlation. Difficulty of correlation. The first one, mechanical method of teaching. The use of these steps takes away from freedom of the teacher as he cannot incorporate his independent thought in any step. This reduces his originality. So the Herbartian approach is a mechanical method of teaching. The next one, no place for individual differences. While using Herbartian approaches, the questions are asked to entire. This overlooks individual differences. While using Herbartian approach, similar questions are asked to the entire. This overlooks individual differences. Third one, useful in knowledge lesson only. Herbartian approaches is useful in the knowledge lesson only, not in appreciation and skill lesson. Herbartian approach is useful in the knowledge lesson only, not in appreciation and skill lessons. Teacher more active. In Herbartian approach, the teacher has to be more active. It is more desirable if the pupils remain more active than the teachers. At this teaching method is not activity centered, pupils don't get any motivation for learning. Don't get any motivation of learning. The next one, no need of generalization. Generalization is not needed while teaching language, geography, history, music and arts. Thus all 5 steps are not needed while teaching. Generalization is not needed while teaching language, geography, history and music and arts. So the above 5 steps are not needed while teaching. Uninteresting. This approach stress upon the teaching of all the subjects of curriculum in a similar sequence, overlooking the interest, attitudes, abilities and capacities of the pupils according to their mental development. The entire teaching becomes monotonous. The pupil does not show any interest in acquiring new knowledge. So the Herbert teaching method is not interesting. The next one, difficulty of correlation. Considering the knowledge as a complete unit, Herbert emphasized correlation between different subjects for the unity in the mental life of pupils. They seek to establish correlation between various subjects in order to bring integration in the mental life of the pupils, which is essentially difficult if not possible. If not impossible. So, the nutshell can be concluded that Herbartian 5-step approaches improve five-step approach, impressive and psychological teaching method. It includes both inductive and deductive methods. So these are the 7 steps of disadvantages of Herbartian lesson plan. The first one is mechanical method of teaching, and the second one, no place for individual differences, and third one, useful in knowledge lesson only. Fourth one, teacher more active. Fifth one, no need of generalization. And the sixth one, uninteresting. And the seventh one, difficulty of correlation. The next one, features of good lesson plan. The next one, features of good lesson plan. Thorough lesson planning, the teacher will be able to pinpoint for himself the objectives of teaching that particular lesson. The objectives should be such that attainable during a span of one period only. Second one, in sequence with the objectives already attained by the learners. Then second one, the teacher will discover whether the subject matter is adequate enough to be transacted during the period. Then third one, he will identify in advance the activities to be carried out by the learners. Then fourth one, he will be able to anticipate the expected answers of the learners. Then fifth one, a good lesson plan should present good linkage between the objectives, teacher and the student activities on the one hand and the method, the teaching aid and the evaluation items on the other. The plan should neither be too short nor too long. It should focus on the specific piece of content so as to attain the competency in hand. The activities plan should be quite interesting to the young learners. It should focus on the development of clear understanding among children instead of rote memorization. So these are the features of good lesson plan. The first one is lesson planning. The teacher will be able to pinpoint for himself the objectives of teaching that particular lesson. The objective should be such that attainable during a span of one period only, in sequence with the objectives already attained by the learners. Second, the teacher will discover whether the subject matter is adequate enough to be transacted during the period. Third one, he will identify in advance the activities to be carried out by the learners. He will be able to anticipate the expected answers of the learners. A good lesson plan should present good linkage between the objectives, teacher and student activities on the one hand and the method, the teacher aid and evaluation items on the other method. The plan should neither to be short nor too long. It should focus on specific piece of content so as to attain the competency in hand. The activities plan should be quite interesting to the young learners. It should focus on the development of a clear understanding among the children instead of rote memorization. The next one, level of teaching. Teaching is a purposeful process which has a close relationship with learning. So in modern age, teaching and learning both are accepted as one concept. We should remember that content has its own nature and various teaching objectives. It is to be observed that teacher can present the content at three levels. The first one is memory level, second one is understanding level, third one reflective level. Memory level teaching is thoughtless. It is the initial stage of teaching. Understanding level of teaching is the next higher level of memory level teaching. This level includes both memory and insight of the learner. In other words, the understanding level of teaching, memory level of teaching is the prerequisite. The third and last level of teaching is the reflective level. This level includes both memory and understanding level of teaching. So the reflective level of teaching occurrence of both at memory and understanding level is essential. In this process of teaching starts from memory level which advances to reflective level after passing through understanding level of teaching. It depends on the teacher's competency that what extent he succeeds in reaching the reflective level starting from the memory level on the basis of efficiency and experiences. So these are the three levels of teaching. The first one is memory level, second one is understanding level, third one is reflective level. Memory level teaching is thoughtless. It is initial stage of teaching. Then the second one, reflective level. In this level, the teaching is the teaching includes both memory and insight of the learner. This level of teaching is memory level teaching is prerequisite. Then the second one is understanding. Understanding level of teaching is the understanding level is includes both memory and understanding levels. In the reflective levels of teaching, the occurrence of teaching both memory and understanding level is essential. Then third one is reflective level of teaching. In this Herbartian model, the first one is memory level of teaching. Memory is a mental process which occurs essentially in some quantity in every living being. When a person sees an object, a thing, or a place, then the engrams of the subject, thing, of the place are formed in his mind. To memorize these engrams or pre learned things is called memory. In other words, we can see any subject, the experience of the object goes to accumulating in our unconscious mind. Then next one, phases of memory level teaching. The first phase is learning. Second one is retention. Third one is recall. Fourth one is recognition. The four phases. The first one is learning. Second one is retention. Third one is recall. Fourth one is recognition. The first one is learning. Memory depends upon the engrams of experience. So the first phase of memory is the learning of some facts. The task of learning is done by the conscious mind. The life experiences get engrammed in the brain in the form of mental impressions, and these can be made conscious as when needed. The people should not try to force the content while learning something. They should acquire direct knowledge, repeat it again and again. The next one, retention. The process of making the contents permanent in the mind is called retention. Remember that retention power occurs differently in different individuals. A person's memory is said to be good if he can retain a matter or an experience in his mind for longer duration. The pupils and adolescents have more retention power as compared to adults. It is for this reason that they memorize rapidly. Then third one, recall. The learned matter when brought to conscious mind is called recall. Recalling of past experience is responsible for a person good or bad memory. If he fails to recall an experience or a matter when needed, then all his learning goes in vain. Remember that those things which are not retained by proper methods, one faces difficulties while recalling them. When a person fails to recall the retained material, they enhances the chance of forgetting. The next one, recognition. If we see an object or a person, remember that we have the person or the subject. It is termed as recognition. Remember that recall and recognition have similar relationship at the brain and the body. Recalling becomes difficult when the association among objects does not occur and consequently we are able to remember them. Contrary to this, we recognize them quickly when our association among those subjects and persons becomes strong. It is our experience that we recognize people very conveniently, which we meet daily, and the objects which we see in our daily life. Such recognition is called definite recognition. The next one, classification of memory. People differ in ability to memorize. Some people do not forget while they read after single reading. Contrary to this, some people forget frequently even after reading something repeatedly. On this basis of different abilities, memory can be classified some of the types: immediate memory, permanent memory, personal memory, impersonal memory, active memory. The next one, immediate memory. Immediate memory is that memory when a person recalls immediately after learning something. This type of memory has two types: temporary memory and developed occurs along age. These are the two types. In this temporary memory, that the learned material may not retain for long period. Then the second one is develop occurs along with it. During this period of infancy, the development of people is slow and somewhat faster during the childhood. The next one, permanent memory. When a person is able to remember a learned material for a long time, it is known as permanent memory. Then personal memory. While recalling past experiences, we remember our personal past experiences. This memory is called personal memory. During the period of acquiring education, every people gains different experiences regarding his school, teachers, and classmates. Impersonal memory. The recalling of the material learned from the books and companions is called impersonal memory. Next one, active memory. The recalling of past experiences needs some efforts. For example, the candidates sitting in the examination hall have to make effort to recall the answers to the questions again and again. The next one, passive memory. Passive memory recall the past experiences without any effort. The next one, mechanical memory. Mechanical memory is also known as physical memory. When our body becomes habitual of doing any task repeatedly, then our body is need not recall that task again and again. The next one, root memory. Root memory is the kind of memory in which the facts are crammed without any understanding. Such type of memory is very sharp during childhood. Logical memory. To learn something by using intellect and its recalling when needed is called logical memory. These are the classification of memory. Then characteristics of memory. First one is rapidity is learning, stability of retention, rapidity in recalling, serviceable, forgetting and irrelevant things. Forgettable and irrelevant things. The first characteristics is rapidity in learning. The first characteristics of good memory is its rapidity and simplicity in learning. Hence, the memory of a person can be called good if the person learns rapidly. Contrary, if the person learns slowly, his memory cannot be called good. The next one, stability of retention. Another characteristics of good memory is retention. The retention is learned material for a long duration. The pupils are said to have good memory if they retain what they have learned for a long time. It's revised. The pupils who cannot retain for a long time are said to have bad memory. Then third one, rapidity in recalling. In addition to rapid learning and stability of retention, the third characteristics of good memory is rapidity in recalling. Those people are said to have good memory who can bring anything to their conscious level very rapidly. Only those people are said to have good memory who can recall anything according to the needs and with proper time. Serviceableness. The fourth characteristic of good memory is poor ability at some occasion. These are some people who possess much but when needed, they remember only irrelevant material. Contrary to this, there are people who can recall the appropriate material and they can identify experiences and talents according to their needs. The next one, forgetting and irrelevant things. A good memory requires forgetting of irrelevant things. Recalling of irrelevant things at the time of examination do not benefit the pupils. So, the recalling the painful events of life does not prove to be beneficial in any way. These are the characteristics of good memory. So, now today we are learned lesson plan. Lesson plan is very important for every teachers. So, today we are discussing the topics of introduction of lesson plan. The next one is meaning of lesson plan. The next one, definition of lesson plan. The next one, need of lesson plan. The next one is characteristics of good lesson plan. The next one, importance of lesson plan. The next one, approaches of lesson plans and steps. There are 4 approaches. First we are discussing Herbartian approach, Morrison approach, evaluation or Bloom's approach, RCEM approach. Then we are discussing Herbartian approaches of teaching. In this Herbartian approach, there are 11 steps in Herbartian approaches. The first one is preparation, statement of aim, presentation, comparison, generalization, application, presentation, explanation, blackboard summary, review, questions, home assignments. Then advantages of lesson plan. disadvantages of lesson plan, features of good lesson plan, and the level of teaching. The first one is memory level, understanding level, reflecting level. In this first we are discussing memory level. Memory level, there are four level phases of memory: learning, retention, recall, and recognition. Then classification of memory, then characteristics of good memory. So these are the topics are included in this lesson plan. Okay, thank you.